Hey everybody, what's up? This is Darklaw here. Um, I said yesterday that I was going to do my Nintendo 64 collection next, so here it is. Um, I don't have too many games for the system, just about around 18, but I do got some pretty good stuff for it. Quick reminder though, I might end up half-assing some of these games because I didn't grow up with I did play the N64 a lot throughout my childhood, and that I just never got my own N64 system until 2015. So I didn't really get to play these games as much as I would have liked. But now that I have the system itself, I've definitely played them more often, but I still don't play my N64 as much as I do my PS1 or PS2 or even my PS3 and PS4, my Sony systems, anyways. Um, but I do love the N64. I think a lot of the games for it are great. This just that I don't have a whole ton of them, but hopefully I can increase the collection somewhere down the line. So without further ado, let's get started. The first game I have for Nintendo 64 is ReMan Air Combat. This one is really fun. It's a lot different from the other Armymen games in the sense that instead of you controlling the green soldiers, you're actually controlling one of their air air cop their air vehicles, their aircrafts, and it's quite interesting. They took a different spin on it. It feels like a breath of fresh air, and you wouldn't think it would control very well, but it actually does, and the game actually does play very well. I enjoyed it a lot. It was so much fun to play. It was actually a lot more fun to play than the shooter games in the series. I feel like the shooter games are a bit more finicky, but this was a breath of fresh air. Next game I have is Yoshi's Story. A very cutesy kind of game, very childish to some degree, but still really fun. I enjoyed this game quite a bit. All I can really say, though. Next I have Armymen Sardis Heroes 2, which I really did enjoy, but after replaying it as of late, I realized how finicky the controls can be, because when you're trying to move around, it just feels a little bit clunky. But I still think it's a fun game. It might just take a little bit for me to get used to the controls, though, because it's been a while since I played this. But still, I enjoyed it. It was a fun third-person shooter for its time. I'm thinking about getting all versions of this, because I'm actually genuinely curious to know how each version plays. Next, I have WWF No Mercy, which is a wrestling game, obviously. And it's a really good one at that. I don't have a ton of wrestling games. I used to have a lot more, but most of the wrestling games I had, they were PS2 games, but the PS2 wrestling games all got thrown out because they just stopped working. So now I just have only a couple of wrestling games left, and this is one of them. But I had a lot of fun with this. It's easily one of the best wrestling games on the N64. Character creation is quite good. The combat's quite good. It's just a really fun game. Super Smash Brothers, classic. Really nothing. Really not a whole lot to say. It's just everyone knows this game, and this game brought on a worldwide explosion to the fighting game genre. Not only that, the N64, and then the Nintendo systems that followed. It's just a really awesome game with, well, it's not as good as it's not as good as Melee in my opinion. I have much more of a personal connection toward Melee, so going back from Melee to this was a tad weird to me because I'm not used to the N64 controller as much as the GameCube controller, but this is still a fun game. Rayman 2, The Great Escape. I also have the first Rayman on PS1. This game is actually really good. I sadly have not played any of the Rayman games after this one. At least I don't think. No, I did play Rayman Origins on 3DS. but that was about as far as I went with the series. I didn't play a ton of the Rayman games, but I do intend on giving them a better shot, though. From what I played of this one, it's pretty good. I had fun playing it. Cruisin' World. I see this game a lot in arcades all the time. Like, this is the one game that constantly pops up. I went to this bowling alley. Yeah, I went to this bowling alley slash pool up place with my friends numerous times. We would go out to play pool a lot, and this game would always show up. Like, this was like the main sticking point for the arcade stuff. This was like the only arcade game they actually had. They had like a multi-cade cabinet there, but I think they got rid of it. I don't know what happened to it. But this is a pretty decent game, though. It's not my favorite racing game, but it's an alright game. It's a decent port of the arcade game for sure. Star Fox 64. Oh my god, this is without question one of my favorite N64 games. I had a lot of fun playing this. I do prefer the original one just a tad more, but this is still a really good game. It plays like a dream. It's aged quite well. The game still looks nice. It's just such a well-playing game. It's so much fun. I really enjoyed it. My only complaint about this, though, is the multiplayer. It is very lackluster. Other than that, though, awesome game. Killer Instinct Gold, which I also have this in the Rare Replay collection on Xbox One. This game is really good. I like the first one just a tad more, but this is still a really, really solid fighting game. I think the N64 I think the N64's controls were designed pretty well for fighting games. There just weren't that many of them on the system. I think it was one of the most underutilized systems for that. But KI Gold is one that shouldn't be missed. It's a damn good fighter. Banjo Kazooie. I actually didn't play this a whole lot, just played it like once, and that's about it. And I need to get around to it more, because I've been hearing so many good things about the Banjo games. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. This game is pretty good, actually. So I've seen reviews about the PlayStation Classic, and Rainbow Six was one of the games on the list, and that was and in my personal opinion, that was a big mistake, because the PS1 version of Rainbow Six is terrible. But this version of Rainbow Six is actually pretty good. I mean, it actually doesn't feel like a generic shooter. I mean, it feels like as close to the PC game as an N64 game is going to get, and I think it does it pretty well. You can either plan your you got to plan your strategies out you got to plan everything out very elaborately. You can't just go in all guns a-blazing. You got to plan stuff out before you get into the action. I think it's kind of an interesting take on the tactical shooter genre. Normally, I'm not good at these kinds of games, but this is one of those games I could always come back to when I need to. It's just a really solid shooter. Diddy Kong Racing. A classic. Loads of fun to play. Though I do prefer Crash Team Racing just a little bit. Just a little bit. Ridge Racer 64. I also have the first one on the PlayStation. This is a pretty decent game. I actually had some fun with it, but it's definitely not as good as Ridge Racer 4, in my personal opinion. But RR64 is still its own thing, and I can definitely appreciate that. 007 The World Is Not Enough. It's no GoldenEye, but it's still a really fun movie-based game. I had quite a lot of fun playing it. Super Mario 64. It's a great game. There are some parts it hasn't really aged all that well, but the game is still really fun. And really, there's really not much else to say about it because it's Mario 64. It's the N64 game everyone knows about. So there's really not much of a point in talking about it because, well, I like it, you like it, almost everybody I know likes it, almost every YouTuber I know likes it, except for a few. There are some that don't, but that's their opinion, not mine, and that's completely okay. WWF Warzone. This game is really good. I played this one quite a bit as well. I first played this on the original PlayStation, but then I got this on the N64 when I found it for a really cheap price. This was one of the first games I ever got for my system, so I couldn't pass it up. This is a really solid wrestler. Not my favorite wrestling game, but pretty good. Pretty good for what it is. Armymen Sardis Heroes. Not as good as the second one, but still alright. And last game I have is BanjoKazooie. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't played this one because I haven't played too much of BanjoKazooie, but I will give the games a shot in due time. I just haven't gone around to it yet. I did play BanjoKazooie once, I just never played much. I just didn't play a whole lot of it. But Tooie I didn't even play, so yeah. I'll get around to it, I just need to make time for it, is all. Anyway, so that's my Nintendo 64 collection. I know I took a lot less time to talk about these than my PS4 collection. Only reason is because I had a lot to talk about with each game in my PS4 collection, considering it's the system I'm currently playing at the moment. And with N64, I don't have as much to talk about because I didn't really have the system growing up. I had a PS1 and a PS2. And, well, I kind of just skipped over. Ended up skipping over the system and got a GameCube after the Super Nintendo. But, I do love the 64, though. When I do play it, I do have a lot of fun playing it. It's an enjoyable system. I just need to play it more. But anyways, that is my collection. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I will do my Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis collections next. Probably will do the remainder of my collections as well, because I don't have too much else to show left, so yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Take care.